So let's talk about your models for the price of Bitcoin for the next, I don't know, 6 months or so. I did see you say that the floor for November will be 98K, for December 135K. How are you getting there, and what drivers do you think will bring us to those prices?
Yeah, so I basically have three kind of models. The first model is the fundamental one, the stock to flow model that we talked about. The second one is a floor model that is more a technical analysis, price based model, and it makes use of a mathematical error that most people, especially the technical analysts, make when looking at markets like Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is not normally distributed, the returns. It's following power laws, and you need different math for that. And all the technical analysis tools are they are for normal markets. For example, the RSI, the relative strength index, it normally bounces between 30 and 70. When it's 70, a market is an asset is overbought. If it's below 30, it's oversold. Well, Bitcoin's RSI never goes below, or at least, well, sometimes, but almost never goes below 45. And can go as high as 95. So that tells you there's some really different dynamics and also mathematical processes behind the Bitcoin price. And you have to look at things like fractal dimensions, Hurst components, that kind of stuff. So that's the floor model. And the third thing I'm looking at, and actually I'm spending most of my time there at the moment, is on-chain models. So the big advantage of Bitcoin is that we have all the transactions, on-chain transactions available in the blockchain. Everybody can download the blockchain. If they run a node, it's about 400 gigabytes of data. So it's a big data crunch, but you can get that data and analyze it. And you see all sorts of patterns in the transactions, where they came from old investors or new investors, big investors, small investors, all sorts of patterns. And those models are very useful for timing tops and bottoms. So FOMO transactions, for example, are very noticeable, and the at the very bottom, the emotions there are very interesting and seeable in the transaction. So I use those three models. And the model that got most attention the last couple of months was the floor model, because I predicted in June 20th. That was the same time, by the way, that the Guggenheim chief investment officer predicted Bitcoin to go below 20K. At about that same day, I made the prediction, no, it's going to 47. And Bitcoin was, mind you, was below 34 at that time. I said, well, in August, it will close above 47. In September, it goes down a little, but it will close above 43. And in October, it will close above 63. Well, it's a bit of luck, of course, involved in there. It has to be. One cannot be that precise, but at least all those targets were met. So 47, 43, and we're waiting for the close of the month, of course, now of October. But 63 is in the book. So yeah, and if that continues, and frankly, I would be very surprised if it doesn't. That would be a black swan event that we haven't seen in the last 10 years. But if that continues, we'll go to 98,000 in November already, and 135,000 Bitcoin in December. So that will be a very nice Christmas this year if that comes true.
I agree. So in the past, Bitcoin has breathed, as one of my sources call it, in cycles of hitting a new high, kind of basically in a bubble-like fashion, and then drawing down again, but to a floor that was higher than in the previous cycle. Do you believe that we're in a cycle like that again, or do you believe that with these new levels of institutional validation that we're seeing, and also, I think, kind of like a more diverse set of drivers, do you think that Bitcoin will not see that same kind of cycle again, in which the price sees a massive drop after this, next high is reached until the next halving?
Yeah, I seem to be one of the few that thinks we're in a normal cycle that will go down again after the all-time high, because everybody, I guess, hopes for the super cycle or the hyper Bitcoinization to start right now and that we do not have a big crash after next all-time high, so that we don't see a minus 50% or even a minus 80% drop like we have seen last three times, right? And as much as I would hope that were true, that we don't see that crash anymore, I think we will. We're still in a phase where Bitcoin is very, very small compared to traditional assets. Institutional investors either flat out deny the asset, don't want to have it, think it's for criminals or bad for the environment, and all this stuff you read in the mainstream media. They're still there. So I don't think the world is ready yet for hyper Bitcoinization or the super cycle. I think we will be managed by greed right now and fear later on, and see another minus 80% after we top out at a couple $100,000. But there will be a point in time, and in that way, it's a timing question. There will be a point in time later on, maybe after next halving in 2024, when the market is ready and ready for Bitcoin, but also ready to see that Bitcoin is the better money, because it's scarcer than anything else. It's more divisible, it's more fungible, it's more portable, it's really mathematical and thermodynamically the best money there is. And as soon as people realize that, see that, then maybe the dollar is in trouble, and we'll have a global reserve currency that's called Bitcoin. But I guess my timing for that hyper Bitcoinization or super cycle event is after 2024, maybe somewhere between 2024 and 32.
Okay. Well, we'll have to check back and see, because I agree. I have other sources who also believe that this cycle will be different. So I guess maybe we'll do a show with you and somebody who believes that, and then you can discuss, and we'll try to do it like for December or January or something, like right as we're hitting that high.